Hi.
Hello.
We are excited to be talking about Sivan, which is the third month in the Jewish calendar. If we remember, we started with Nisan, which is when we were born, spiritually at least. And then we transitioned into ER, which was a time of maturation. And now we're entering Sivan, which is really a time about building relationships, both with ourselves, with God, with each other. And the holiday of this month really represents that relationship building because it's the month where we receive the Torah, which is in many ways the vessel through which we can connect with the divine, the sacred, the earth, each other. So that is also mirrored in the fact that the zodiac sign for the month is Gemini, which are the twins.
Which is my birthday month.
Which is the birthday month. And there's so many ways we can look at these twins. We can look at one of them representing physicality and one of them representing spirituality, and the Torah being a bridge to unite those two elements of existence. We can look at them as different aspects of ourselves. We can look at them as even just being able to see the other. There's a beautiful Torah about how we can actually learn Torah just by looking at each other. And it's not only that you're looking at somebody, but you have to love them. Mm-hmm. And so that's ultimately what this month is about, learning how to love from up there to down here to in here. Mm-hmm. And so we'll take some time to learn about herbs that can help with that, and the letter of the month and how that represents that, which is the letter Zayin. We'll come back to that. The motion, the sense of this month, which is motion and walking, and how that plays a role in relationships. And if we have time, maybe we'll talk about the tribe of the month, the rituals we can do to incorporate in this month, and lots of other things. But let's just get flowing with herbs.
Yeah, I really love what you were saying about what the meanings of it and the duality of it. In your body, we were talking a little bit before about how it rules the lungs. And this time of year is like ruled by Mercury. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury rules your lungs and also your nervous system. And your lungs are really like either side of your heart, nestled in between your two lungs is your heart, and your heart, is all about how you listen. Like if you're having really proper good listening, which is also the month of ER, but it also comes down to your breath and how your breath affects your heart and how your heart affects your circulation and how your circulation affects your actions. And so it all ties in together. And I think that one of the nice things about all of the lung stuff is that it's really pretty much like the basis and the foundation of our daily lives, of how we're breathing in and how we're breathing out, and what herbs are good for that. I suppose we talked about licorice before, and how licorice is a really amazing example because it also nourishes your blood and adrenals, but it also is very, very good for your lungs. And it's the kind of herb that in Chinese medicine, you put it in formulas and it helps all the other herbs to work really well and do their job. And that kind of feels a very, like a mercurial spirit, it's like Mercury is the messenger, and the messenger is always like going back and forth between the worlds, between the spirit world and the physical world, to relay messages and aid communication, which is also very much like your nervous system, and that's what your nervous system is doing too, and your breath. It's like both very much a very mercurial thing, so how do we aid that, this kind of like back and forth between the spirit world and the physical body? It's like it is a duality in some sense, but it's linked by heart, and it's linked by listening, and it's linked by looking and loving someone. That's how you get the connection, and that's how you get the communication. And So that seems to me like where you want to focus the herbal healing as well. Like what can we bring to aid that? Licorice is one. It feels like when there's tension between those states, it's hard to breathe properly or deeply, or it's hard to kind of have heart. So maybe a nice herb for that might be lobelia, which can help relax the tension in our bodies and ease the breath. And there's a whole host of herbs that are really good for your lungs, but it also feels like something that will be a gentle nervine as well, so it will work on your nervous system and communication. I mean, I think of you.
Lobelia feels very smoky to me whenever I've tasted it. Is it connected to?
It's a diffusive. So what it does is it kind of like if you taste it on your tongue, it's kind of like echinacea. It's kind of like got that little tingly sensation, which is just like diffusive. And I think that kind of like eases out the pain. It's like a relaxing kind of feeling on your system. So wherever there's like tension or tightness or stagnation, maybe even a little bit, but more in terms of tone rather than in terms of like any other kind of stagnation, it's going to relax that.
So that would be good for the heart as well. Yeah.
I think it would be good for any organ in terms of tension.
I love what you're saying because we're taught that the Torah and Shavuot as a holiday is compared to the best medicine for your lungs.
Oh, really?
And it's actually...
It makes me want to breathe deeply.
Yeah, and actually Rabbi Nachman talks about how if there is anything wrong with your breath, then there probably is something wrong in your body, which is a fundamental aspect of Chinese medicine as well. Your lungs govern the flow of qi and also the dispersion of fluids, which is also interesting because Torah is not only compared to the lungs but also to water.
Yeah.
And so even just thinking about is it easier for me to inhale? Is it easier for me to exhale? And maybe use that as a tool for relationships. You know, am I able to receive more? Am I able to give more? Where's the...
Yeah, I love that. And that makes me think of marshmallow root for some reason because it works both on water and it also works on your lungs. But then I feel like the mercurial element of it might be more like, well, what does it actually mean? Because sometimes we might be tight in our breath. Sometimes we might be dry. Sometimes we might be too wet. So there's going to be different things for different situations that's kind of like the mercurial element. And so marshmallow root might be good for some where there's dryness or there's like a cough that's like, not productive. That might be more useful. And licorice too is like, that's a more demulcent thing. So that's like the Torah aspect of it being like water, which feels really nice as well. And I wonder what, it's about receiving as well.
Like we talked about Damiana a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw one more into the mix.
Throw a Damiana in the mix.
Because we're talking about love, too.
Yeah.
And this is the time of the twins, of those two polarities coming together, and is the time of the heart. And so Damiana is very much known as a love potion.
Yes. That's wonderful. I wonder how... Damiana is also a relaxing nervine, so it will work in that sense too, And yeah, I wonder what you have to say about the embodiment practices of this.
Yes. Well,
I'm gonna check on this.
Yeah. Let's keep this going.
Yeah.
So we come together and we always get so excited about all of the healing remedies, and we get excited about what we've read, and we started off, ourselves as just studying this. And so we very much so wanted to always know, how do we bring in the remedies for this moon time? What are the remedies? And so we're talking about the herbal remedies, and what else are we looking at doing with our bodies every day or weekly during this moon of Sivan. And so taking those themes of the dualities, I'm all of a sudden seeing these dualities everywhere. So we have our little mini Torah here that my friend Shendel, Kohenet Shendel, made in her little Shabbat morning Hebrew school. And it's these two scrolls. And we've got also, I put in there my 2 Shabbat candles. And I feel like all of these, why do we light 2 candles? What's going on with all of these 2s? And Sivan is the moon of the attraction of 2 opposites, maybe, of 2 hands, the right hand and the left hand, coming together, and we have these 2 flames. So what I wanted to offer is for those that don't light Shabbat candles, to practice lighting 2 candles, whether that's Friday night, lighting those candles, or any time bringing your meditation practice back to a candle meditation. And so lighting candles and observing, when there's the 2, observe kind of the space between the 2. The idea is that we're separate from each other and from the other half of our spirit all week. When we're working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going through, which is part of ourselves that has to put one foot in front of the other, the walking, right? One foot in front of the other. But when we stop and we really feel the attraction towards becoming one, sorry, we keep working with this little computer setup here. When we bring in our attraction to becoming one again, then we bring our other part of self. So if all week we're working with our worker self, our doer self, then we have a moment to pause and bring in our spirit self. And so that's why we have these 2, to remind us that really we're always one, and in our relationships we are one, but we function often as separate. And so we have the moment to come back together, and a candle igniting is a great way to think about how you can kindle both parts of your spirit. So that is one practice. And then also keep going with this, like about, okay, well, there's love in here somewhere, and there's Friday night, which is a beautiful time to be in a practice of love, love making, love of the divine. And I think, for me as a yoga teacher, often I'm asked about the tantras, and I think in Judaism and in Kabbalah we have all of the imagery of the bride and groom coming together, and the Friday night being that wedding night time. And what I often say, whether it's in tantras or whether it's this practice of unification, that Shavuot is very much about receiving and becoming one, and is also Shavuot is thought of also as a huge wedding night where we receive this huge gift.
They read the ketubah at some synagogues the morning of Shavuot.
Yes. What do you mean by that? Which ketubah?
Just
anyone?
Yeah, anyone. Or they'll read wedding songs. They will bring exactly that idea of it being this huge wedding, into the prayer space.
That's lovely.
Which is why I brought in Daviana too.
Yeah.
So it's coming back. Let's go bring it. We'll bring it back to love. But what I want to say, because I think this gets overlooked all the time in tantras or in anything, is that it's not necessarily about coming into how can I better love somebody else, but it's how can we best love ourselves too, and bring those 2 parts of ourselves to become whole.
Ultimately,
yeah. And then when you face yourself and you have this love relationship with all parts of yourself becoming whole, I think you're so much better to step in front of another and to come together with another.
Yeah. That also feels like the breath. It's like the breath in the week, the point where you're walking and walking and walking, and then you take a breath on Friday night and you stop and you're actually just joining. Like that's in that moment of listening and heart and taking a breath, that's when you can become one,
It's also really beautiful, the progression of the months leading up to this moment of like relationship, because in order to have that you need to do the work of ER, and you need to be born and exist. And I love the Shabbat candles because the Zayin, the letter of this month, is 7, and Shabbat is on the 7th day, and 7 is such a holy number. 7 days of Pesach, 7 days of Shavuot, all of the Jewish holidays are in the first 7 months. Shiva is 7 days. 7 at weddings is a very symbolic number. And it does, just like you say, unite that physical world with that spiritual, which is oneness. It's a beautiful practice.
And I wanted to throw in that, for some that might be watching this, maybe you're not in a regular practice of lighting Shabbat candles. Maybe you're not even Jewish. And it occurred to me, because I was just at this Women's Herbal Symposium, and so many people were asking me about Kabbalah, and so many people were interested in how can I learn more, and realized, this is, we're not just offering this these insights into these moons and this moon time and healing practices for this moon time to you if you're Jewish, but everybody is looking to cultures that have an intact relationship with the cycles and the seasons of time. And so what we're offering is broader. It's for anyone who is wanting to reconnect to how there's a new moon in the sky. What does that mean? What does it mean to me that there's a new moon right now? As we're bridging this month to next month, as we're going from May to June. And okay, well, I know you hear about it's the moon of Gemini, or we're moving into the sun in Gemini and the full moon and this and that. But just to why,
what does that mean?
What are we doing? Yeah, how are we keepers of time, and how does that keeping of time and the cosmology affect our keeping of our health and our body? And so I think that's why we come together to bring these wisdom traditions together. But how can we look to Judaism and not just look to the yoga or the Tai Chi or the Chinese medicine or the Western tarot and herbalism? So where can we find it rooted in our tradition, but then offer the richness of our tradition? That look, it is right here. It is in Judaism. There are connections to the keeping of time and the keeping of the body,
which is also a very Sivan theme, because it's all about right relationship, and this is like an embodiment of right relationship to time and to the seasons and to the months. I mean, all of them are to some degree, but since this is the one where we receive the Torah, it's like especially potent.
Yes.
Right relationship and receiving,
and that the sense is motion, just echoes the fact that relationships are in motion. It's not static. The Torah is not static. It's ever moving, and the laws in the Jewish tradition, which are known as halacha, come exactly from the same root as walking and moving with the times. And so it's also a nice way to incorporate other, what's going on now, and other, herbalism and astrology and keeping things in motion.
And also just very much with our own partners or children. Like, it's not nice when people don't see you in a fluid way, like that you get typecast or stuck as, oh, you're like this or you're like that, because we're not. We're always changing and moving. And especially kids don't want to be seen like that. As they get older, they want to be seen for the movement of themselves rather than how they were when they were much younger, for instance, and they're quite fluid with that. So even just that as a reminder this month is a lovely thing,
Anything else about Mercury and Gemini and the cosmos up there?
Always. Yeah, I mean,
we're in the moon of Gemini, Sivan.
Gemini, I mean, you are a Gemini, so you can probably speak to this more than I in terms of the embodiment of it all. Like, I mean, there's so much to it that I'm at a loss for words right now.
Well, I do. This is very much a time of mountain climates in the Jewish tradition. Not only is there Mount Sinai, but there's also Mount Sinai is where the Torah was received. There's also another mountain, Mount Ararat, which is where Noah landed.
Oh, yeah.
And the climate of a sort of a Gemini body is kind of mountain climate, cold and dry.
Yes. It's true. The hair. It's such dry hair.
So that's it's like cold and dry, and that's like also kind of a lung thing as well.
Yes, exactly.
Vata thing too.
Vata thing.
A
Yeah.
very Vata thing, exactly.
Which makes us very indecisive, like
Yeah.
flowy and airy, and very cool, cold air up here.
Well, it's intellectual as well. It's
Very
very much
intellectual.
the pursuit of like more knowledge, and you can kind of get lost in that in
Yes.
some ways, like the dualism. You can get lost in the dualism, or the lesson can be to be more decisive and to be more communicative and be more relational. But it can definitely be like pursuit of knowledge for the sake of knowledge.
Which is a very Jewish thing.
Yes, it's true, right? But what about Mount Ararat? What's that got to do with it? That's really interesting.
Well, Mount Ararat was where
the Ark of the Covenant.
so Noah's Ark, the world was flooded, landed, and God made a covenant with Noah, saying, "I will not destroy the world." So it was sort of at least by flooding it, and that was sort of a covenant of creation. So I see that very much as Hod, one of the sphirot of gratitude. And also Hod represents the body part of this month, which is the left leg. Then on Mount Sinai, you have the receiving of the Torah, which is kind of like Netzach, which is the right leg. And you ultimately need both to walk.
For movement and motion.
Yes.
Lovely.
And so the idea is that, when God created the world, there was a little hidden note that the world is going to be created, but there's also going to be this relationship, which is the Torah. So the world was created in 6 days, which is the 6th of Sivan when we receive the Torah, which is 5. And so I really think it represents we were created, but we also have a purpose. It's not enough just to exist, but there's a duty, almost a responsibility we have to really reflect and manifest,
and it's also to be that balance between the duality and to be that balance between the self and the other. And the relational bit is hard, and between intellect and body, or heart and body. That's the work, really. It's very hard to just be one or the other. And I think that Mercury is quite a good trickster like that, because it can bring that together if you're getting the messages right. But that's like a lot of what the hard work is in terms of relationship. It's not easy to always know the balance between the two, or even recognize the two. We're so, even between both sides of our body, or are we breathing in enough or breathing out enough? There's so much, in terms of like just getting that basic relationship right.
I got super excited that you brought in the Sefirot, because we're still completing our counting of the Omer, of counting of these days, and we're just about to enter into the 7th week.
Yes.
Right, so we enter into Sivan, and we start to enter into
Malchut.
Yeah. Yay! So thank you for reminding me that I brought this meditation about our sovereignty. And Malchut is the queendom, right? Malchut is the lowest circle on the tree of life. It's what touches the earth. It's the most earthbound. It's the most feminine principle. It's the place where the divine feminine, the Shekhinah, is said to reside, is in Malchut. And so, again, coming back to that, what I was talking about for practices for love, for this month. Besides the candle, once you've got your candles, then what do? Bring those candles, put them in front of a mirror, and look at your sovereignty. Look at your Malchut. Look at your earth, your body. And so the invitation here, and I don't know if I brought from my basket Stargazer Lee's essence. I wanted to bring it, but maybe I didn't. We'll get it back out. Naked presence. So, there it is. Naked presence. Stargazer Lee is amazing. Makes this essence of spring water, chocolate liqueur, cacao, and the essence of moonlight caressing skin, completely surrendered beingness, trusting the moment. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of naked presence. And this is something, a meditation I want to share from the Moon Mother, Moon Daughter, because I feel like as a mother, it's so important to teach my children that I'm not ashamed of my body. Yeah. We're not ashamed of our bodies. We're not ashamed of being earthlings. Isn't that delicious? It's like,
Thank you, Stargaze.
So, yes, welcome to your body. Right?
Oh God,
light Shabbat candles. Enjoy Shabbat. Give this to your loved ones. The elixir of being in a body. Mm-hmm. It's such a great thing. And so our bodies are mirrors. Stand in front of a mirror. Notice that. And also notice that your body is a mirror for the earth. Mm-hmm. And so what better way to practice being alive on earth and really receiving all of the creation, receiving earth by receiving the blessings of having a body and being in body. And so this is another name for Malchut, for Shekhinah. Right? Outside of Judaism, we hear about Gaia. Mm-hmm. So this is a meditation for Gaia. And in this, we're going to imagine, so get comfortable and imagine that your body is the body of Earth. You are Gaia. Spinning, spiraling, dancing freely, Gaia rolled herself out of the vast and timeless universe into an earthy ball. She sculpted her soft brown form, majestic mountains, rounded hills, flat plains, and deep valleys, filled her crevices with oceans and streams of water. The sun kissed her exquisite body, bringing forth strong and sturdy trees, medicinal and edible plants, beautiful and fragrant flowers. The heavenly sky rained upon her, bathing her with a warm and gentle shower. Soon Gaia was covered with a rainbow of sparkling colors, turquoise and sapphire blues, emerald greens and ruby reds. Jewels adorned her flesh. Gaia was filled with joy, and a creative life force energy pulsated through her body and radiated from her being. Gaia loved her fullness with all of its curves and contours, and wanted to share with other energies and spirits the joy of living in a body. In time, her earth body conceived of other living creations in many colors, shapes, and forms. Gaia loved and cared for them all, nourished them with an abundance of flora and fauna, refreshed them with clear, cool waters. Blessed by the sun, and with her sister the moon, Gaia created harmonious rhythm of cycles and seasons, and all of her creatures danced around her in a joyous circle of life. And so, this noontime, as you prepare for summer, as you maybe go outside or camp, as you maybe go into rivers and streams and oceans, enjoy the gift of embodiment. Enjoy the gift of your naked presence. Enjoy the gift of Sivan, of the moontime, of attraction and dualities coming into wholeness and unification. Thank you for the herbs, the blessing of our breath, the bringing in of our healing plants and medicines to heal, our ability to take in all of that life and all of that Torah and all of the beauty that nourishes us from the intellect to the spirit to the physical world.
Amen.
Yeah.
Pause.